One lay sprawled on her stomach across Thames' neatly made bed, her legs bent at the knees, feet swaying lazily in the air. Her cheek was pressed against her open notebook, the pencil dangling loosely from her fingers. She let out a dramatic groan muffled against the paper. Why do numbers hate me so much? I swear they are plotting against me. From his steady chair, Thames chuckled quietly, the sound warm and deep, before glancing at her over his shoulder. His dark hair fell slightly into his eyes as his gaze flicked from her pouting face to the fortress of textbooks stacked on the table beside him. You just have to understand their logic. Like people, he said in that calm low tone of his. One lifted her head, just enough to grin mischievously. Oh, then you should be a subject I would ace at. How to make a big nerd baby blush. 101. She rolled onto her side, pointing a finger at him dramatically, and just like that, Thames' cheeks turned the softest shade of pink. His eyes narrowed in mock warning. Wine, he muttered, feigning a glare. She giggled shamelessly, rolling off the bed, and peering over to his chair, leaning down, she poked his cheek. Look at you, already blushing. His hand froze mid-scribble. He dropped his pen on the desk and leaned back slightly flustered, refusing to meet her eyes. Steady, Wine, we have a test tomorrow. You're distracting me. Her grin only widened. Oh no, am I distracting the top student? Whatever will the academic world do without your full attention? Thames sighed, picking up his pen again, trying to look unbothered. You're impossible. She pouted dramatically, backing away with slow steps. Fine, scold me then. She plopped onto his bed again with a small bounce, hugging a pillow. I see how it is. I'll just sit here, unloved and unwanted. He turned in his chair, frowning in disbelief. Scold you? I didn't scold you. Yes, you did. She interrupted, nose crunching. I didn't. He stopped mid-sentence, staring at her stubborn expression, and exhaled through his nose. All right, I'll let you cheat off my test tomorrow. Her head shot up. Wait, really? Her pout flipped instantly into a huge grin. Oh, I knew you loved me. He shook his head, smirking. You were just kidding, weren't you? She giggled, hugging the pillow tighter. Maybe. In response, Thames walked over and flicked her forehead gently. Hey, she yelped, rubbing the spot while glaring at him. He simply raised an eyebrow. That unreadable, quiet expression of his always had a hint of challenge in it. She caved in second, smiling sheepishly. Okay, fine, teach me. His lips curved into the faintest, softest smile as he sat beside her with his books. She lay on her stomach again, propping her chin on her hands, eyes wide as he began explaining the problem. Except she wasn't really looking at the notebook. She was watching the way his brows furrowed slightly when he concentrated, how his lips moved slowly when he chose his words carefully. Suddenly tap. Where are you lost? He asked, lightly hitting her forehead with his pen. She blinked, caught red-handed, and rubbed her forehead. My brain needs kindness, not violence, Thames. He stared flatly. Your brain needs focus. Listen. Fine. She drawled, smiling faintly as he started explaining again. He repeated it once, twice, 3 times, patient as always, until her eyes lit up in realization. Wait, I got it. She squealed, grabbing the pencil and scribbling quickly. Look, I solved it. His eyes softened, lips curling upward in genuine pride. You did. She beamed up at him, and before she could react, he leaned forward and pressed a light kiss to her forehead. Her breath caught, her pulse thundered in her ears. He pulled back as if it was nothing, returning his gaze to the paper, but his ears were a giveaway, tinted pink, matching the warmth still lingering where his lips had touched her skin. Wine, cheeks warm, hid her face in her hands and mumbled, I think numbers like me now. Then chuckled softly, no, I think you just needed the right teacher. Few days later. It had been days since Wine first discovered Thames' weakness. The way his ears and cheeks turned pink at the slightest touch of floaty word, and she had been relentless. In the class, she would casually lean over, whispering, Hey, blushy baby, need help with your notes? Or brush her fingers along his sleeve just to see him stiffen. At lunch, she would tap his cheek with her finger, calling him blushy tay, until he ducked his head to hide the redness. Even in the library, she had leaned over the table, chin in her hand, smirking until he muttered under his breath, You're going to be the death of me. Today was no different. Except, her tiger wasn't hiding behind a desk. Wine dragged her tired body toward the basketball court, still in her dance practice clothes, hair tied up messily. Inside, the echo of sneakers on the floor and shouts from the coach filled the air. The team was doing an intense workout, and among them, she spotted him. Thames was jogging toward her side of the court, hair slightly messy, breathing heavily, shirt clinging to his skin. He glanced her way, and then casually he lifted the hem of his shirt to wipe the sweat off his forehead. Her breath caught, her gaze entirely on its own dropped to his stomach. His abs flexed with each breath, and she instinctively gulped. Wine, one of her friends whispered loudly, elbowing her. Someone staring. Under wiggled her bruise. Wine blinked, realizing she had been caught red-handed. She let out a giggle, cheeks hitting. Across the court, Thames' eyes met hers, and in that instant, his shirt dropped back down like it was on fire. His face flushed crimson, the tips of his ears giving him away completely. Wine's friends were already drooling. Oh my god, your nerd is hot. Share and the teased. Wine straightened, shooting them a glare sharp enough to slice back off mine. They rolled their eyes with grins, muttering possessive much before heading for the exit. As soon as they were gone, Wine walked right up to him, handing him a water bottle with a bright smile. Well, look at my nerdy man, she said, tilting her head, all strong and stuff. Blushy baby with biceps. He took the bottle, glaring half-heartedly. Like what you see? She smirked. Please, I'm immune to your charm. He scoffed but didn't argue, instead drinking deeply from the bottle. Wine ploughed onto the floor in front of him, still grinning. You're insufferable, he muttered. Blushy baby. She sang under her breath. He exhaled through his nose, warning Wine. She just leaned back on her palms, eyes twinkling with mischief. What, you are? He shook his head and looked away. She groaned suddenly, lying down flat on the coat. My back hurts, dancing non-stop for hours is torture. Something in his tone softened when he replied, then don't overwork yourself, idiot. Her smile twitched wider at the warmth hidden in his words. Oh, is that concern I hear? He didn't answer and she closed her eyes again, teasing. Or maybe you're just shy to do a workout in front of me. The silence stretched and then she felt a shadow fell over her, a warmth hovering above her. She opened her eyes quickly only to find his face mere inches from hers, his hot breath fanning her cheek. Her heart leaped. What are you doing? She stammered. His lips curved into a smile. So what was that you were saying? He started doing push-ups directly above her, caging her in. His breath hit her lips every time he dipped down. Her eyes widened. Hey, everyone's looking, she whispered urgently. So let them, he murmured. On his next push-up down, he pressed a quick kiss to her cheek. Her entire face went red. Yeah, another push-up, another kiss on the opposite cheek. By the third, she was practically melting into the floor, trying to cover her face. Then, without warning, he dipped down last time and brushed his lips against hers, just previous touch before pulling back with a groan. Who's the blushy baby now? He teased. She groaned, covering her face with her hands. You're insufferable. You taught me well, he said, lowly leaning down once more. Only kissed her forehead before pushing himself up and moving away, picking up his towel. She sat up still, flustered, stumbling slightly when she tried to stand. A couple of students nearby were already whispering to each other, clearly having seen something. As she tried to slip out, Sam called after her, be careful, before jogging to catch up. In the hallway, a few students stood in the doorway murmuring. Sam reached her side effortlessly, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. She groaned and hid her face in his chest. This is all because of you. His chest rumbled with quiet laughter as he bent his head slightly, whispering just loud enough for her to hear. You look cute when you're flustered. She made a noise of protest, but he just held her closer as they walked out together, his quiet smile the picture of victory. Time skip. Ever since that day, Sam had been on a mission, a public teasing mission. If they were walking to class, his arm would be lazily draped around her shoulders, his fingers playing with her hair just to watch her try and keep a straight face. If they were in the cafeteria, he would lean across the table, resting his chin in his hand, gazing at her like she was the only thing in the room. It was pure torture for Wine. She had tried to act unaffected, rolling her eyes, sipping her drink, pretending to focus on something else, but the way her ears would go red always gave her away. And then the quiet reserved nerd had turned into her smirking menace. One evening they were having lunch at Thames' place. This time her revenge was ready. The dining table was quiet except for the sound of cutlery and Thames' parents making casual conversation. Wine sat beside him, eating silently until she leaned in close enough that her lips brushed in his ear and whispered, you should do push-ups above me more often. I liked it. Thames' fork froze mid-air. He inhaled sharply, choked on his food, and began coughing so hard his ears turned crimson. There, his mom gasped quickly, handing him a glass of water. Drink. He snatched it, gulping down like his life depended on it, shooting Wine a wide-eyed death glare between cuffs. Wine, he hissed under his breath. She blinked innocently. What? Just placing my strong nut. His parents exchanged a curious look. What did he do? His mom asked, interest clearly piqued. Sam immediately straightened, waving his hands in panic. Nothing, it's nothing, just school workout. Wine smiled into her plate while his parents hid their smiles, clearly suspecting there was more to it. These days, the teasing game faded from her mind as reality set in. Finals were only weeks away, and on top of that, the university entry test loomed over her like a storm cloud. Her desk was covered in open books, her pen tapping anxiously against the paper. She was trying her hardest, but the pressure was exhausting. Her head was pounding when she caught the sound of snickering across the room. A group of boys and girls were talking, and then she heard it. Damn, please, guys, just a boring nerd, always acting like he's above everyone. Probably hiding behind her because he can't do anything himself. One of them pointed toward Wine. Bet she only sticks around because she pities him. Wine froze slowly. She glanced sideways at him. He sat at his desk, flipping a page in his book, completely unbothered. But the insults kept coming. Her jaw clenched. Before she could think, she shoved her chair back so hard it scraped the floor, the sound echoing through the room. She marched over, glaring at them. Say it again, she said sharply. They scoffed. Oh, you're defending your nude boyfriend now. What's he going to do? Read us to death? That was it. Before Thane could stand, Wine lunged forward. He stumbled back and the group erupted in laughter. Wine's hands curled into fists. You think you're tough running your mouth? She roared. Wine Thane's voice cut through. And suddenly, his arm was around her waist, pulling her back. She was crashing, swearing at them as the rest of the class rushed in to separate them. Calm down, he muttered against her ear. They're speaking ill about you and you're just sitting there quiet, she shouted, twisting in his grip. But before anything else could happen, the teachers entered. Thane didn't wait for questions. He simply took her and led her out of the classroom, ignoring the stares. He brought her to the empty classroom. The moment they were inside, the door shut. One's anger broke into quiet sobs. She clutched the front of his shirt, her forehead against his chest. I'm sorry, she whispered. I didn't mean to yell at you. I just lost it when I heard them say that. His arms came around her, holding her steady. It's okay, I'm used to hearing it. She looked up at him, heart flashing in her eyes. That's not... It doesn't affect me, Wine. He said softly, covering her face. Not anymore. He brushed his thumb along her cheek. I heard she shook her head. I know you're stressed, he continued quietly. Finals, the entry test, you have been pushing yourself so much. Her lips pressed together. I'm trying hard, I know. His hand slipped down, taking hers gently. But I want you to join the Ballot Dance Academy. Her eyes widened. What? He gave her a faint smile. It's your dream, always has been. Don't throw it away just because of me. I want to join the university with you, she whispered. He shook his head. You can still be with me, but I want you to follow your dream and become a ballerina. Even your parents want you to. Her voice trembled. I'm scared. If we choose different paths, we'll fall apart. His smile deepened, warm and sure. He pulled her into his arms. All my paths lead back to you, always. She stayed silent, holding on to him tightly. Then he pulled back, eyes glinting with something new. All right, let's register our marriage. Her breath hissed. What? He nodded. Once exams are over, we'll make it official. She stared at him wide-eyed. Do you really love me that much? He hummed. I love you so much that sometimes it scares me. She blinked. You make me want to come out of my shell. She grinned, then stopped being scared. You're stuck with me. He smiled. So, after exams, for a second she just stared, then a smile slowly spread across her face. She nodded quickly, burying her face in his chest. He pressed a kiss to the top of her head, his arms tight around her. The door creaked open and a strain peeked in. Wine, the principal's calling you. They both looked over. Thames' hand squeezed hers before letting go. I'm with you. Nothing's going to happen. She exhaled, giving him a small smile, and together they stepped out of the classroom. Time skip. Exams had passed without drama. Then, as expected, topped the list again, first position, the boy who never failed to make his parents' eyes shine with pride. Wine, the self-proclaimed eldest student, surprised everyone with how much she had improved. Her results weren't perfect, but they were hers, earned with long nights, tired eyes, and determination. When the results for university and Ballot Academy came in, their fates were sealed. Having accepted into his dream university, Wine selected for the prestigious Ballot Dance Academy. With both families meeting, talking, and nodding in agreement, their marriage registration was done quietly but meaningfully. A simple silver band now sat on both their fingers, a silent declaration that they belonged to each other. Still, Wine had her moments of insecurity. What if, she once whispered while lying beside him, we get too busy? What if you meet someone better at university? And Them, being the gentleman he was, removed those fears piece by piece, telling her she was the only person he would ever choose, showing it in the way he held her hand in public, in how his eyes softened only for her. One day, without warning, he handed her a key. An apartment, she blinked in shock. Our apartment, he corrected softly, brushing her hair back. Where we live together. Both were swamped with their own schedules, classes, rehearsals, assignments, but no matter how busy they were, they made time. Late night dinners, weekend walks, quiet mornings where she would sit on the kitchen counter talking while he cooked. One would chatter endlessly about her academic life. My teacher's super strict but kind of funny. Oh, and you should have seen one of the girls today. She tried to do a triple turn and almost crashed into the mirror. Then her eyes would narrow teasingly. So, any girls in your uni trying to hit on you? Them would chuckle every time. Even if I'm popular, no one dares to approach me. Why? Wiggling his fingers, showing the ring. This days I'm taken. She would giggle, rest her head on his shoulder, and keep yapping, and he would just listen, secretly addicted to the sound of her voice. He told her about his new friends, Andrew, William, and Alexa. Today, Wine had the first performance on stage, and since morning she was nervous. She could feel her stomach twist. Hey, I'm going to mess up, she muttered, pacing. You won't? He said simply, his tone so sure it made her still. I'll be right there. True to his words, he arrived with Andrew, William, and Alexa. They sat in the front rows, cheering when her name was announced. The performance began. Lights, music, the graceful sweep of arms and legs. Her male partner Gary lifted her high, her movements perfectly in sync with the others. From the audience, William, Alexa, and Andrew cheered like crazy, but Them, he just sat there, a soft, proud smile on his face, eyes never leaving her. After the performance, in the changing room, the moment she stepped out, William grinned. That was amazing, Wine. Alexa hugged her. You were glowing up there. Andrew gave her a playful salute. Star ballerina in the making. Then slid an arm around her waist, kissed her temple gently. Proud of you, he murmured. Thank you, she beamed. That's when Gary walked in, clapping his hands. Wine, that was fantastic for a first performance. Outstanding. His gaze lingered. You have got charm and you look beautiful. Then Joe flexed, his tongue poking the inside of his cheek. Gary continued. We are going out for dinner. Want to join us? Before Wine could even open her mouth, Them casually interjected. My wife has plans with us tonight. His friends tried and failed to hide their smiles. Wine shot him a teasing look. Gary blinked in surprise. You are married? You're so young, how? She fell for me early. Them replied without missing a beat, making Andrew and William burst into laughter. Wine bit her lip, hiding her smile. Gary chuckled awkwardly. I thought you were her older brother. Them's tone turned low, almost dangerous. You thought wrong. Gary raised his hands in mock surrender, still grinning. All right, enjoy your night. He left. Andrew clapped Thames back. Man, you're scary when you're jealous. William laughed. Possessive much? Alexa snorted wine. I like him like this. They eventually left the couple alone. Wine tilted her head at him. Blushy baby is jealous baby. He looked away, lips pressed in a sulk. She reached up, squishing his cheek. Don't be mad. In one swift motion, he lifted her by the waist, setting her on the dressing table. Her breath caught. His eyes darkened. You're mine, Wine. She swallowed. Before she could say more, his hand cradled the back of her head and his lips crashed onto hers. The kiss was deep, heated and slow, his mouth moving against hers like he owned every breath she took. Her fingers twisted in his shirt as his other hand slid to her waist, pulling her close. She gasped softly into the kiss, and he took the opportunity to deepen it, tasting her, making her head spin. When he finally pulled back, she was flushed scarlet, breathing hard, eyes downcast. His lips got into his neck. Cute. She glared half-heartedly, burying her face in his chest. You're impossible. He chuckled, stroking her hair. Change quickly, my friends are treating us to dinner. She pulled back, pouting. You didn't even say anything about my performance. His gaze softened instantly. You were breathtaking. Every move, every turn, I couldn't take my eyes off you. You're perfect, Wine. Her eyes welled up. She wrapped her arms around his neck. Thank you, it's all because of you. He leaned in, whispering near her ear. I could tell you exactly how perfect you look, but you'd run away before dinner. She yelped, hopping down and smacking his shoulder. Stop. She darted off to change while he laughed quietly, running a hand through his hair, watching her disappear into the changing room, and thought marrying her was the best decision of my life. Time skip. The city outside was alive with scattered lights and muffled traffic, but inside their apartment it was quite dim and warm. The faint smell of Thames cologne lingering in the air. Wine unlocked the door silently, slipping inside with her tote bag slung on her shoulder. Her muscles still ached from rehearsals, but her lips curved into a tired smile. Tonight had been brutal. Hours of stretching, perfect spins, pushing herself until her toes screamed in protest. She pushed the door closed gently and set her bag down on the entryway bench, noticing the faint glow from the living room. Her breath caught. Tim was there, sprawled on the sofa like he had been carved from some decanted painting, head tilted back against the rest. The first few buttons of his shirt undone, a faint shadow of stubble on his jaw. His long legs were lazily spread, one arm draped across his stomach, the other dangling over the side of the couch. She hesitated for a moment, unsure if he was asleep. Quietly she slipped off her heels, setting them down with care, and tiptoed closer. Thang. She called softly, her voice barely above a whisper. No response. She crouched slightly, leaning forward, and gently placed her hand on his shoulder, giving it a little shake. Tay. His eyes opened instantly, warm and heavy-lidded, looking onto hers as if he had been waiting for her. His voice came low and rough from sleep. You're back. Before she could answer, his large hand reached out, finding hers, and with a gentle tug, he pulled her forward until she stumbled softly against his chest. Wine hummed, the sound laced with exhaustion and relief, resting her chin lightly against his chest and looking up at him. Why are you sleeping here? His lips curved in a faint smile as his thumb came up, brushing softly against her lower lip. His eyes studied her face with that deep, quiet affection he always had when we would be waiting. I wasn't sleeping, I was waiting for you, he murmured, voice tender. Feels like we have been getting distant. We don't spend enough time together anymore. Her heart clenched a little at the honesty in his tone. She shifted slightly, looping her arms around his neck before climbing onto his lap, strailing him without hesitation. His ears turned pink instantly. Wine, he murmured as if the sudden closeness caught him off guard. She smiled knowingly, leaning down to press her lips to his in a slow lingering kiss. Missed you, she whispered against his mouth. Thames' hands, warm and firm, slid instinctively to her waist, holding her steady. He kissed her back, deeper. When they parted, she caught the flush still coloring his ears and grinned. You're blushing, she teased. He rolled his eyes, but the way his lips twitched betrayed him. Says the one climbing into my lap the moment she walks through the door. That's because my husband is cute when he waits for me, she replied, brushing her nose against his. Cute? His brows lifted and that mischief glint appeared. You should be careful saying things like that, ballerina. Makes me think you're being suggestive. Her eyes widened at the deliberate huskiness in his voice. Damn, gasped, smacking his shoulder. He laughed low and warm before dipping his head to press a kiss to the side of her neck. You're the one making it sound that way, he murmured against her skin. She buried her face in his shoulder, both flustered and smiling. You're impossible. And you love it, he teased, resting his cheek against her hair as one of his hands began to gently stroke along her back. For a few quiet moments they stayed like that, her body melting into his while his heartbeat drummed steady beneath her ear. Then she broke the silence. So my grand performance is in a few days. She began chewing her lip. I'm so nervous today. I keep thinking I'll mess something up. That you won't. His voice was calm, certain. She pulled back just enough to meet his eyes. How can you be so sure? Because I have seen you, he said simply. The way you work, the way you push yourself, and because I'm sponsoring it. Her eyes widened, blinking in disbelief. Wait, you're what? He smiled at her reaction. I'm the main sponsor. Wanted to surprise you, but yes, I just did. Her squeal of joy echoed through the living room before she flung her arms around his neck, hugging him tightly. You, oh my God, Tham, you didn't have to. I wanted to. He interrupted, softly pulling her closer. I believe in you more than you believe in yourself sometimes. Her chest tightened with emotion and she pulled back enough to kiss him again, this time quick, kitty pecks all over his lips, cheeks and nose. He laughed helplessly, trying to dodge, but she kept going until they were both giggling. Soon teasing turned into playful battle, her pinching his side, him catching her wrists and pulling her down until she was pinned lightly against the couch cushions. Their laughter was breathless, mingling with stolen kisses and whispered "I love yous." Finally, she rested her forehead against his, smiling. "We are not distant there, just busy. We always come back here to us." He cupped her face, his thumb brushing over her cheekbone. Always, he promised sealing it with one last slow, tender kiss. Few days later, the heavy curtains swayed ever so slightly as Swan stood in the center of the stage, her fingers nervously gripping the edge of her dress. The murmur of the audience fell deafening in her ears. Her heart pounded not from fear of forgetting her steps, but from the weight of every eye on her. Then her gaze found him. Him standing at the far end of the hall, his tall frame relaxed yet commanding, his hands tucked in his pockets, his eyes were only on her. A small confident smile tugged at his lips, the kind of smile that said, "You have got this, princess." The knots in her stomach loosened instantly. She took a deep breath, the music began, and she moved. Her body flowed with the rhythm, each moment sharper, more graceful than the last. Gasps and soft murmurs of admiration rippled through the crowd. When she leaped, the hall seemed to hold its breath. When she spun, the air almost shimmered around her. By the time the final note faded, the applause was thunderous. She hadn't just performed, she had captured them. The ceremony dragged on, congratulations, handshakes, flowers, and pictures, but she didn't care. She only wanted to see him. And when she finally stepped outside, there he was. "Damn," she called softly, her smile wide. He offered his arm with a little bow voice, deep and proud. "For my star of the night." She took it instantly, clinging to him as they began walking. "I'm so happy." She breathed, her tone brimming with excitement. "I know." His thumb brushed over the back of her hand, and his eyes softened. "You were breathtaking wine, not just beautiful, powerful. Every single person in there saw what I have known all along, that you're unforgettable." Her cheeks warmed and she giggled lightly, sweating his chest. "You're just saying that." He tilted his head, a hint of possessive pride in his gaze. "No, if anything, I'm holding back if they clapped any louder for you. I would have gone up there and reminded them you belong to me." Just then the sky rumbled and rain began to fall. She gasped as the first cold drops kissed her skin. "Oh!" She let go of his arm and fell right there on the pavement, her laughter mixing with the patter of rain. "Wine!" They moved to pull her under the thick branches of a tree. "You'll catch a cold." "Tame," she laughed breathlessly, raindrops glistening in her lashes. "Come on, live a little." He smiled, shaking his head. "You're trouble, you know that." "Then it's perfect," she said mischievously, taking his hand and tugging him into the open ring. "Because if I get sick, you'll just have to nurse me back to health win-win." He chuckled, giving him his dark hair quickly dampening. "Only you could call if you were a win-win." "Let's walk home," she pleaded, her tone almost childlike. "You'll ruin your clothes." "I don't care," she smiled at him, eyes shining. "Please, Theo." He sighed in mock defeat, the corner of his mouth twitching upward. "You know I can't say no to you." They began walking hand in hand, shoes splashing through puddles. Halfway down the street, she stopped and spun to face him. "Dance with me." "In the rain?" He arched an eyebrow. "Yes, in the rain." Her grin was impossible to resist. With a low laugh, he slipped one hand to her waist and took other hand in his. They swayed together in the drizzle, then spun, the cool air running down their cheeks. Theo's cheeks flushed a soft pink, but his smile never faltered. Wine cupped his face, thumbs brushing against the warmth of his skin. "My blushing baby looks so hot in the rain," she teased. His eyes darkened, voice dropping to a husky whisper. "Say that one more time and I'll kiss you." Her lips parted in playful defiance. He didn't let her finish. His mouth claimed hers in a deep sensual kiss that stole her breath. His arm tightened around her waist, pressing her against him, while his free hand cradled the back of her head. The kiss wasn't rushed, it was deliberate, consuming and hot enough to make her toes cold despite the cold rain. She responded with equal passion, fingers gripping his soaked shirt, pulling him even closer. A low, involuntary groan escaped him, and she felt his chest rise sharply against hers. By the time they finally broke apart, their breathing was raised. She giggled softly, "Let's go." But as she turned, still holding his hand, he didn't move. "Hey," she asked, looking back at him. He was already lowering himself onto one knee in the rain, pulling a small velvet box from his pocket. Her heart dropped. "Wine." His voice was steady, but his eyes burned with emotion. "I married you once, but I want to do it again. Not out of circumstance, not in secret. I want the world to see you as mine, to give you the grand wedding you deserve. You are the most precious thing in my life, my pride, my home." Her breath caught, and her vision blurred with tears. "Marry me again," he whispered, "and let me love you the way I have always wanted, openly, completely, endlessly." A tear slipped down her cheek as she nodded. He slid the ring onto her trembling finger, then stood scooping her up by the waist and spinning her in the air. She laughed through her tears, clinging to him as he thrilled her. When he set her down, his hands didn't leave her waist. He kissed her again, slower this time, but no less consuming, and she melted into him. Rain forgotten, the world forgotten.